Welcome back to the program. Now, all eyes are the High Court, where an order was issued last week for the Inspector General of Police, Joseph Poinet, and the DCI, that is George Kinoti, to appear in person to explain a number of instances why some court orders were not adhered to during Miguna's case, and they will be appearing before Judge Luka Kimaru to establish whether they have appeared, and of course we shall be telling you what next. Now, yesterday there was showdown within the National Assembly. First of all, the House has not agreed in regards to the cabinet nominees, and of course there's also sort of looming fallout between the NASA affiliate parties after Wiper wrote a letter to Justin Muturi to have Gladys Wanga withdrawn from her position as member of the Parliamentary Service Commission. Take a look at how it went down, just in case you missed it.
Order number 16, special motion. Approval of nominees for appointment as cabinet secretaries.
NASA's resistance to President Uhuru Kenyatta's leadership once again reared its head in Parliament after opposition allied MPs walked out of the chambers moments after debate on the suitability of 9 cabinet nominees kicked off, leaving only Jubilee members to debate the motion, which was unanimously passed.
Where are you? Where are you? Go to the door.
The 9 nominees now await their formal appointment and swearing-in scheduled for this Friday. During debate, MPs heaped praise on the nominees, while others defended those whose academic credentials had been questioned.
There are people with the experience, they are with the skills and the technical expertise. The report indicates that Mr. Cheza has unique characteristics, which exhibit that it's not only education that you can make the ends meet or you can serve the country. This is a man that when it comes to conversion, when it comes to commitment, he does it once, not a watermelon type like we've seen some other persons.
Leader of Majority Aiden Duale, who read out the report of the Committee on Appointments, said the new cabinet now meets the 2/3 gender principle and also ensures inclusivity and regional balance.
From their CVs, they are men of great repute who have served in various public capacities and have proved themselves capable.
And as we move on, Mr. Speaker, a warning to all of them. If indeed you do not serve the people, nothing will save you. The same house which approved your names will ensure your name is brought here and you are kicked out. And I want to assure you, not even status will save you.
The opposition had cast doubt on the vetting process, which they boycotted, terming it a Jubilee affair. Tomorrow, the National Assembly is expected to endorse its representatives to the Parliamentary Service Commission, even as it emerged that Minority Leader John Mbadi has written to Speaker Justin Muturi requesting more time to harmonise their list. This is after the Wiper Party wrote to the Speaker proposing Burabu MP Ben Momanyi as its representative to the committee, in place of ODM's Homa Bay Women Representative Gladys Wanga.
It was uncalled for, firstly, for Wiper to purport to be writing to the Speaker on a matter that is within the remit of the coalition.
When a Speaker kindly withdraw that process, revert back to the coalition. The coalition has very well elaborate mechanism and structures of addressing such matters.
We shall be crossing over, rather catching up with Chemutai going a little bit later if time allows during this live broadcast, because she is covering the discussion in regards to membership of the Parliamentary Service Commission, in which Gladys Wanga's position is under threat after Wiper wrote to the Speaker of the National Assembly. But she'll get to that a bit later. But for now, however, the report on the by the Committee on Appointments was sort of unanimously passed, as you've had going report, because NASA members decided to walk out for a number of reasons, among them that John Mbadi says that they shall not participate in Jubilee affairs. Let me start with you, Dan.
Ian, it's quite unfortunate that these things are happening now, and especially when Kenyans are expected to be to see government giving them service. I mean, that's why I said from the beginning there is a problem, because even when the process of actually trying to know how these people are was going on, again, members for NASA actually decided to boycott. It communicates a lot, because I could have wanted to see them also participate and say what they know about these guys. But you see now the business that took place yesterday and the endorsement of all the 9 nominees is actually a Jubilee affair. And we know very well yesterday in the morning, the president had a beachy in State House. And probably he wrote a riot act to these members and told them, look, everybody has to be approved. And the only probably way Kenyans had to be able to get to know these people better was through the opposition, which actually decided to boycott. Therefore, to me, I think we still have a problem, because looking at the kind of things that have been happening for the last 1 week or so, and even including the kind of interviews that were being done by members of parliament, the kind of questions that were being raised to these nominees, actually leaves a lot of questions, leaves a lot to be desired. Look at the kind of discussion that went on in Parliament. Instead of defending, we need to know who are these individuals that are going to take portfolios in government, whether they perform, whether they are going to deliver service. I mean, this is the last time President Kenyatta is going to be in power for the next 5 years, and we expected to have individuals who are actually going to deliver on his mandate. And the work of Parliament is to interrogate these individuals. The interrogation that took place is wanting, and as Kenyans, we never got what we are looking for.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Steve.
Right. So maybe just to put things into context for the sake of our public who are viewing us, I think yes, last week we saw the committee that was doing the vetting on these nominated cabinet secretaries. We had how the kind of questions they were asking. And there's a section of Kenyans who felt like, there's some who didn't really have the merit to hold the position they've been nominated to hold, And so after this, they did a report and presented it to the Parliament. And so the Parliament had 2 options. One is to approve and pass the report, and the other one was to reject the report. And for a report like this to be approved, then the law says that at least there has to be a minimum of 50 members of parliament. And we know the Jubilee Party has about 163. That's about 49% members of parliament in this parliament. And so I think what we saw from the NAS's side was they felt frustrated that even if they were present in that. In the House yesterday, then they felt like their voice would not count because, the Jubilee has a tyranny of numbers.
Sorry to interrupt you, Steve, but as you can see at the bottom of your screen, breaking news is that the High Court, through Judge Luka Kimaru, has revoked the deportation of Miguna, terming it as null and void and of no legal effect. In fact, he further says that Miguna's passport should be surrendered in court within 7 days, the same period given to the government of Kenya to explain the circumstances in which when it will deliver Miguna in court as well. You do remember that Miguna was deported just a day before he was meant to appear before the very same judge, something that was seen as a contempt of court by the Kenyan government. And so this is news just reaching us right now. In fact, let me just read out to you in part of what the statement by the judge said, that declaration that Miguna is not a citizen of Kenya is null and void, and is null and void and of no legal effect. A passport of Miguna should be surrendered in court within 7 days. The judge further said that Miguna must be brought to court as earlier ordered. The decision of Matiang'i declaring Miguna a prohibited immigrant is quashed. So what does that mean? Time will tell, and of course we shall see whether Miguna will be brought to court as ordered there. Let me just get quick comments. Steve, I interrupted you, so let me start with you.
Right. On the same issue?
Yeah.
Okay. I think what we're seeing is, and I mentioned this last week when I was here, we were discussing about Miguna's deportation and all that. And I think what I said is the way the whole issue was handled, it didn't follow, the principles of law in respect to citizenship and all that. I think Article 16 is very clear when it comes to citizenship. It talks about, that a person's citizenship cannot be disregarded or denied from him, if that person is born in Kenya or born to parents who are from Kenya. And we know Miguna's parents and ancestors are all here. He has his relatives back in Kisumu County, and we know the reason why he went to Canada back in late 80s was because he was going to seek asylum because of the regime at the moment felt not safe having Miguna around. And so I think what Judge Kimaru has done is actually just trying to reaffirm that indeed the rule of law must be respected. And I think what we need to see is, the big question is whether the state will really bring Miguna and present him to court as the court has ordered. I think that's the big question.
Okay, Dan.
Yeah, I want to say this. From the word go, whoever actually made this decision to actually send Miguna out of the country needs to be shown the door. And if President Kenyatta is watching all this coming from court, he needs to act now, because actually there is a process in doing this. I am not here to try and defend Miguna in any way, because what I'm defending is the process that has been created by the law on how these things are actually supposed to be done. Therefore, to me, I think from the word go, it was foreseeable, because you could see it coming. The way this case was handled, the way Miguna was bundled out of the country, it was with a lot of secrecy. You could actually tell that there's something that was wrong with the whole process. And therefore, to me, I think this is wrong, and especially coming from government, it's very wrong. I think it's good that they obey what the orders that have been given by court. Let them produce Miguna. And if there are issues they will want to raise with Miguna, he is a citizen for this country. I mean, as Steve has actually said, Miguna was born in Kenya by Kenyan parents, and anybody trying to throw him out there is not really being realistic, because as citizens, we need to respect the rule of law. And as I've said, if there is anything that has to happen, let the law be followed.
Okay, there.
Well, and for the law to be followed in this case, I believe we'll see some very interesting things, because for Miguna to have acquired his Kenyan passport in 2009, he needed to have denounced his Canadian citizenship. Now, the other day, we realized that Miguna is still Canadian, which means the process he used to get that passport might actually land him back in court so he can explain how he got to have this passport. But I'm glad that a true son of Kenya has been given his rightful place here. But then this matter is still not done yet.
Muthiora, I want to say this, Ian, please, if you could allow me. We have no problem with what the government will want to do with Miguna. Yes. Because if at all he said he's not Kenyan citizen, and therefore it's the responsibility of government to prove that. But you see, what we are asking as Kenyans is for the right procedure to be followed when these things are being done. That's what we are asking for. I'm not in any way trying to defend Miguna. Let the right procedure be followed. If Miguna acquired Kenyan citizenship through dubious means, then the law will catch up with him. That's what we're asking for.
Yeah, and I also appreciate, because there are a lot of Kenyans in the diaspora who had acquired citizenships of other nations before the promulgation of the constitution we have. So this matter will shed light as to their status, whether they will now just be accepted as Kenyans or...
Are we looking at a sort of a battle here between, the judiciary to the larger extent with the executive? Steve, what are you looking at here?
Precisely. I see the judiciary is really trying to advance justice, to the Kenyan citizens, and we're also seeing the executive also trying to, we are seeing excesses on the side, like you said, on the side of the executive. And I think this is something that is not healthy for this country. They need to complement each other. Like I said, the three organs of government, the parliament, judiciary, and the executive, they need to complement each other and not to fight each other. so that the Kenyan people ultimately benefit, And so I think in this respect, what we need to see is instead of just treating this matter casually, the issue of Miguna deportation and all that, we need to see it presented in courts and let the government and Miguna, or the relevant ministry and Miguna, battle it in court. Let's have evidence produced on whether Miguna really denounced his citizenship or not. And like the court has ordered, let's see even his passport presented before the court, and then we just see what's going to happen from there. But like I've said, the respect to the rule of law is something that should be upheld, and I think the government should be leading the way in this respect.
Okay. Yeah. Let me just bring our audience up to speed, just in case you've tuned in right now. The news that you see at the bottom of your screen is that High Court Judge Luka Kimaru has overturned the deportation of Miguna, timing it null and void and with no legal effect. Says the government has 7 days to explain how it will deliver Miguna in court as earlier ordered. So we shall see more on this developing news and perhaps wait on a statement from government as well. And of course, this is a move that has been welcomed by the National Super Alliance lawyers, led there by Senior Counsel James Orengo, who was actually speaking today before that particular court. So we shall keep you up to speed. In the meantime, we're following very closely events happening within the National Assembly. Like I'd mentioned to you, a showdown is expected later on today at about 2:30 p.m. when members will be discussing the position of Gladys Wanga as a member of the Parliamentary Service Commission, after Wiper had written a letter asking the Speaker to remove her from that particular position and instead give one of their own that position, because they feel like they have been shortchanged when it comes to parliamentary positions with those shared amongst NASA affiliate parties. But before we get to that, gentlemen, of course, we were discussing the independence of Parliament. We've just seen NASA members of Parliament walking out. They said they do not want to participate in the vetting process, or rather the passing of the report on the vetting. And
I just had a final thought on that before the breaking news on Miguna's deportation has been revoked by the court. I think I was talking about the NASA MPs feeling frustrated because they know they don't have the numbers or the muscle to. But then again, that should not have stopped them from just staying and contributing to the whole process. But then I also had a viewpoint about the Jubilee MPs, who have really the tyranny of numbers. So my take to them, or my advice in this respect, would be let them use their tyranny of numbers, with a lot of, let them be very rational on how they use their tyranny of numbers, because they are there to represent their constituents, those who voted for them, and not to really rubber stamp everything that comes from the executive. Yeah. They should play their their oversight role independently, and create, the check and balances so that the executive becomes very effective in how it implements its policies and all that.
Okay. Muthiora, your take on this. Does it, what does it mean when NASA leaders do not participate in such crucial exercises within the House?
What it means is Kenyans are being shortchanged because their taxes are used to pay their salaries, their allowances, for their security, their travel, and everything. And instead of the members of Parliament taking their oversight role seriously, they're playing games. Mm-hmm. This side shows that they're involving themselves in do not benefit the nation. They do not benefit the citizen. We had a perfect opportunity to know exactly if the candidates who had been nominated were suitable. Yeah. And most probably they would have brought to the fore information that would have led to some of the nominees being rejected, or they would have brought to the fore information, like, for instance, we've had people question Achesa's suitability, but then Achesa has been a member of ODM, they've worked with him, they know how good he is in what he does. They would have helped Kenya embrace this whole process and get value out of it. So they're shortchanging Kenyans when they choose what fights to get involved in.
I don't think, Ian, this is changing Kenyans, because in my understanding, if you don't see members of parliament, especially from NASA, not attending some of these sessions, it actually tells you how much this country is divided. Because behind those members of parliament are individuals who are actually supporting them and who are supporting their action. Therefore, it's a responsibility of those in leadership to ensure that they are able to bring Kenyans together. And if we don't do it, then we are really not in a good position. Because you could want to say members of parliament are supposed to interrogate every other issue that is there, but what happens in a situation where some people feel that they were shortchanged somewhere? These are the questions we need to ask ourselves. Why don't we have members of parliament as elected being there to actually serve Kenyans? There is a simple answer, that leadership in this country needs to sit down and ask themselves hard questions. This is the time we need to ask ourselves whether we need to move forward as a country or we need to move forward as communities. Because this is one thing that is killing this country. Whether you talk about Mbadi, who is the minority leader in parliament today, he has total support from those who think what he's doing is right. Yeah. In the same way, it's happening to Aden Duare. He has total support. The leadership of this country have a responsibility, and a huge responsibility for that matter, to try and bridge the gap that is actually
Where does that leave the people, Dan?
Sorry?
Where does that leave the people?
The people will be left divided more.
Yeah.
The people are divided more, and that's why I'm saying it's upon leadership of this country to be able to try and see whether they can bring Kenyans together. But as it is right now, the country is divided, and the honors are on President Kenyatta. Because you see, I have heard us talk about the swearing in of Raila or whatever, but you see, the constitution is clear. The President of the Republic of Kenya is Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. He has a responsibility over this country. He has a huge responsibility, equally as individuals, as we have that responsibility, but he has his responsibilities more than any other person in trying to unite this country, because what is the presidency for? That's a question we need to answer. We need to ask ourselves and probably get answers. He's supposed to unite. He's supposed to be the symbol of unity for this country. And for him, he has no any other way. There is no shortcut about this. We want to see a country that is more cohesive, a country that is more united, and through his action, it will communicate a lot.
Okay. Ian, we have to dispel with this notion about our nation being divided. We know that in parliament, we do not have that division. All of them are in government. They are either in the majority or in the minority. So, number one, let's make that clear.
So the country is not divided?
Well, the nation there are political differences amongst the people. No side is exactly drinking water when they're preaching water. Some of them are preaching water but drinking wine. Like, for instance, we talk about regional balance, but then when you go back to the swearing in the mock swearing in that happened, and you look at the lineup that was at Uhuru Park, you realize that there was no regional balance. So these people have no moral authority to talk about how our government is not representative. Now, when you come to this other side, you see the executive using a bit of excessive authority than they should. The person that's left in between suffering is the Kenyan. Yeah. So it's a high time our leaders came together for the common good of this nation and stopped these sideshows, because they're not going to help anyone at the end of the day.
Okay, sorry, gentlemen. I just have to get an expert analysis from Dr. Duncan Ojong, who understands international law. In regards to the news that just happened right now, that the High Court has quashed the deportation of Miguna, timing it as null and void with no legal effect, and has ordered the government to explain within 7 days how they're going to deliver Miguna in court. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Ojong, by way of phone. Just tell us a bit of what this means. Does this sort of, give Miguna back his Kenyan citizenship? What exactly does it mean for him, and what options does the government have?
Okay. So I've not seen the judgment. Hello?
You can hear you.
Yeah, I've not seen the judgment, but according to judge, the deportation is null and void. Yeah. Isn't it?
Yes.
So that argument that the deportation is null and void, to me, I don't think it means anything, because If it's out of the jurisdiction, then the proceedings here at home does not affect the fact that it's out of jurisdiction. So, you know, the other time Judge Kimaru had said serve the inspector of police personally. You know, that was an impossible order.
Yeah.
And I think it was very deliberate, so that as both sides celebrate that we are supposed to serve the inspector, it is almost too difficult or impossible to serve him personally. So that order of null and void, the action has already happened. And so, and it's not a legal process.
What happens?
It is an administrative process. Deportation is not a legal proceeding. So I don't know to what extent can change the deportation.
And what does it mean when the High Court says that Miguna Miguna's passport should be surrendered to the court within 7 days as well?
Yeah, and probably that will be an avenue for Dr. Miguna to come back to the country if his passport is surrendered, because court found that it was illegally cancelled. Then now he will be able to travel back because he has proper traveling documents and a valid passport. Now, but in terms of nullifying deportation, it wasn't a legal proceeding, so you can simply say his rights were violated, but I don't see any remedy towards that. You can simply award him injury and everything, but there is no difference whether you're saying it's null and void because he's already out of jurisdiction. Remember that it really makes a difference when this person is not in court jurisdiction, is not in Kenya jurisdiction. It makes a big difference.
It is public knowledge that Miguna Miguna said that he is suing the state. Does this particular ruling make his case against the state even stronger?
I think so. Remember, the state was to reply by today, and so far, that ruling is more of ex parte that the deportation was illegal. I think it strengthens Miguna's case that whatever happened was extrajudicial and no legal basis. And but then the main issue is now, how does he come back? Let us say that the state obeys the order and reinstates his passport. You know, there are some orders that might be very hard to implement because the judge is not the one that is not the immigration officer that is letting people in and out at the airport. It is still the state. So if the state say, okay, the deportation was illegal, you have given him his passport, but we still believe that he has to apply for his citizenship because he had lost it. You know that that judgment has not been issued yet, whether the substantive issue of whether he is a citizen or not. Because according to state, the article is saying Kenyan citizen by birth does not lose citizenship by acquiring another citizenship, but they can regain. The word regain means you have lost it. And the act, the constitution itself, Article 14 is saying they can regain because another country is entitled on application. And so whether applying for passport is application, on application, and then if you look at the Kenya Act, Kenya law is very clear. The 2010 Kenya Citizenship and Immigration Act, Article 10 is talking about regaining citizenship, and it's giving you a formula to do that. A person who was a citizen of Kenya by birth and who seems to be a citizen of Kenya because he or she acquired citizenship of another country may apply in the prescribed manner. The application shall be accompanied by and to the cabinet secretary. So this is cannot be done by passport. And so to what extent is Judge Kimaru's order almost impossible to comply with because already it's removed. So whether you declare it illegal or not, or null and void, it has happened. And I don't see whether it's giving a clear direction to what it means compelling the state, telling the state to do this, because the state have already removed him out of jurisdiction. You can't tell the state to go get him because they will say that is Canada.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Jong. We shall keep you up to speed with that particular development and, of course, understand where this leaves the government and what the law has to say in such instances. Remember, this is sort of unprecedented, so we're yet to see what, rather, how it will pan out. We're taking a short commercial break. When we come back, we shall be listening in to what the reasons that Jacob Zuma gave for his resignation, which happened last night, as we continue to follow a number of events that we are covering right here on the Daily Brief. Stay tuned.